Community Heart Media. Your voice, your heart, your opportunity. Welcome to tonight's show.
Well, here we are today, hey? It's 98.9 Northwest FM, and I think I've got some issue with my sound, guys. So I'll just hand it over to you guys while I try and figure out what's going on at this end.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, welcome to Community Heart Media, everyone, and thanks for joining us again on Wednesday night. Julio, how's your week been?
It's been pretty good. I've had a pretty interesting week, mostly work-related and trying to avoid all the COVID cases coming through again through work and also the flu and just enjoying that part of life, especially being a senior supervisor now. So a bit interesting, but it's all good. We're back in the program now, so nice people to be with.
Well, it's good to be here tonight on Community Heart Radio, and I think you're coming through loud and strong now. And if you're listening, looking forward to having your input tonight. And guys, I tell you what, we keep finding amazing people. But I tell you, I got one of Melbourne's leading lawyers, and you wouldn't find a more passionate lawyer than Zagi tonight. Good evening. How are you going?
Good evening, Mark. Well, how are you all? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you. And we're looking forward to our sort of working through the legal system tonight and having you on board. And I know we've got a lot of listeners looking forward to hearing your story and having you with us tonight. It's fantastic. On a cold night, sit back and relax as we really just hear the story and unpack some issues that are going on out there. It's just going to be a great insight. And Zagi, when I met you, I was just astounded by your career and your passion and your drive and what you stand for as a person. And maybe you should introduce yourself and a bit about your background.
Well, my name's Zagi Kozarov, and I too was fascinated by what you do, Mark, when we met. And it was at a lecture at Monash on narcotics and the criminal justice system. So I am a criminal lawyer and a family lawyer. My career started off as a prosecutor. So I worked for the DPP for many years and then crossed over to defence work. And as I started doing defence work, I became involved representing offenders that had breached their intervention orders. And as a result, that opened a doorway for me whereby I started practicing in family law, because a lot of the times intervention order matters are intertwined with family law matters, sadly. So my clients would slowly ask, Zagi, could you please represent me in my family law matters? And lo and behold, I started doing family law. One case led to another, and now I have my own law firm, and my practice is predominantly now, I would say 50-50, crime and family. Yeah.
Wow, you must have so many interesting cases, so many interesting stories.
Yes. And I guess they stream across a different array of different people, different backgrounds, different issues. And I do love my job. I love what I do. I must say that. Some days are more challenging than others, but I must say I find my role very rewarding. And I guess I became a lawyer because I want to help people. And I think that's the best part of it. Just seeing the difference.
And Zagi, as you're growing up, where did you get this passion from? Because I think it's your passion, your commitment, and your belief in others, and the way you whole view this. It's not just a job for you.
No, it's a bit emotional. I guess my passion comes from my background. I was raised to believe in others and to think about other people, and to put myself in other people's shoes. Look, I believe we've all got a story to tell. No one's life is perfect. And I think we all take from our own life experiences, and we bring those life experiences with us in our roles, whether it is as a lawyer, whether it is as a teacher, whether it is as I don't know, someone that bakes bread. We've all got a story to tell, and our passion fundamentally comes from who we are as people and the paths we've had. So, yes, my passion is because, I didn't have an easy upbringing, and I have seen a lot of things and experiences, and I've taken that on board, and I've brought my life experiences into the work that I do today. And
what was your upbringing like, Zagi? Was it here in Australia?
Yes, it is. My parents migrated to Australia and met here in Australia. So I'm of a Greek and Hungarian heritage, and the cultures are extremely different. But, growing up, you come across different people, different issues, struggles. You experience different personalities growing up as well. You see a lot of things, and you take all that on board and you bring that with you in your role as an adult, I guess. But I knew from a very young age that I wanted to do something that involved helping people.
That's amazing. Yeah. Amazing.
Well, Julio, you've got Julio's attention because he always needs a bit of help from the legal system, don't you, Julio?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I get myself into trouble quite often.
Do you?
Yes.
No, he doesn't.
Well,
no, don't forget tonight, guys, we do want to hear from you. We've heard from Carla Louise, and she said hello, so it's great. Thanks, Carla. And if you've got a question or a comment to make sure you do make a comment on the Facebook page you're watching from. And you would love to hear from our audience tonight. I'm sure Zagi would be happy to hear from you as well. Because, when you go to court, when you've got issues with the law, it is a pretty emotional, stressful time, isn't it? It doesn't matter what court you're going for. It's pretty heavy, isn't it?
It is. It's a scary experience. Let's face it. It's intimidating. The fear of the unknown. For me, I guess it's not, because I'm in there every day. And perhaps for a lot of lawyers, we take it for granted that the person that's with us is faced with a circumstance and a situation where they're not sure what's going to happen, especially in the area I practice in. I practice in crime, so I'm dealing with people's liberty, their freedom. And in family law, it's, again, another area where I've got people's families in my hands. So I take my role extremely seriously. I'm dealing with people's lives. I'm dealing with someone's son, someone's daughter, whether they are faced with criminal charges or whether it's someone's son or daughter that I'm dealing with in relation to parenting orders. So my role is serious, and I do take it very seriously, and I do my utmost best to represent my clients in the best possible way and to try and understand the issues that surround, if it's family law, the issues surrounding their families, or perhaps how can I try and bring a balance and hopefully try and reach an agreement without the need of getting to court, and let's try and resolve this dispute out of court.
Zagi, can I ask, have you seen things coming through, changing throughout your practicing time or over certain periods such as COVID as well, common things coming up that, patterns or themes or anything that you're seeing trending at the moment?
Look, at the moment, I'd say perhaps family law and domestic violence issues at the moment are perhaps up there. I'd say a lot of families are experiencing a lot of pressure now that, COVID, the aftermath of COVID is coming up. A lot of people are struggling financially, and I guess those issues bring other issues into our household, and people tend to argue. But when you say to me, have I seen, certain issues coming up, I do see family law courts, parents withholding children from other parents, IVOs being put on other parents. There's a lot of that going on at the moment in what I do. But what I think has changed, if I look at it broadly speaking, from when I was young, the types of drugs people are using has changed.
Really?
Drug use is changing, I think, from perhaps when I first started my career. I mean, drugs have always been an issue in our society, but the types of drugs that people are using.
What types and what impact are you noticing with that? Very curious.
I find that certain drugs have got a larger impact on people's mental health issues. And I think that's an issue as a society that we need to address. Perhaps, our youth need to be better educated as to, the effects of drugs, or perhaps what drugs are made out of. I can't tell you the amount of times that I have clients sitting in front of me, and I'll say to them, do you actually know what's in this? And a lot of the times they actually think they're natural products. And I'm like, no, do you realize you can buy this stuff in a hardware store? Or do you realize it's floor stripper? Or do you realize it's this or that? Or it could do this to you? So sadly, a lot of the youth of our society aren't well versed, or it's not going to happen to me sort of philosophy. Are not going to affect me that way. So I think a lot more needs to go into educating the youth of our communities, about.
I actually think out there in schools, Zagi, that there's not a lot of drug education in schools, I don't think, at the moment. It's more focused on well-being and other things like that.
Yeah, look, well-being is another topic I'm passionate about. But, I am a mum of 2 teenage children, and, I've got a daughter and a son. And looking at their schools, because they go to different schools, my daughter's school is focused on a lot of drug education, and I'm actually surprised. I have outside speakers that come in and talk to them about the effects of alcohol and drugs, which I think is fantastic. Whereas my son's school, I don't see it as much, but I think every school's different, and it depends on the school, I guess, But I would love to see a lot more of that in our schools,
It's a good topic, Zagi. We'll just quickly go through some of the comments. Milton, it's good to have you here, mate. So hi. And Paul appreciates the attitude you have to help people. And Paul's got a question as well.
Sure.
How do you figure out someone is lying in cross-examination? I suppose we've had a few people answer this, Zagi.
How do I out if someone's lying? Well, is it lying? I don't like to use the word lying. Perhaps, they don't have a clear recollection of the events. It's basically,
sounds like Julio.
They don't recall the events very well. They don't have an accurate recollection of the events. So would you call that lying? Their stories are inconsistent. They may say it one way, and then if I ask another question that sounds different, but really it's the same question, the version of events are different. So I hope that answers your question.
The inconsistency.
Yeah.
I just think some people get confused.
Witness, are they?
Yeah.
Well,
and what's Milton got to say here?
Shouldn't
Milton
drugs be treated as a crime that it is? Good question as well.
Sorry, what was the question? Shouldn't drugs be treated? Sorry, I'm going to put my glasses on.
As the crime that it is.
Oh, that's a very big topic for me. And it is a topic that I actually hold very close to my heart. And I'm sure a lot of people listening are perhaps going to disagree with me. We've all got our views. I've got my views on drug use.
What's your views?
Why do people use drugs? Really? Do people really use drugs for no reason, is my question to the community. Fundamentally, I believe that people turn to drugs that are in a bad place. They're trying to escape reality. But maybe I've got these type of views because I work in this field and I see so much and I deal with so many different types of people. But in my life experience, and I can only speak on my own behalf, not on anyone else's.
Well, I think it's a great question, Zagi. Why don't we ask Julio, why do people use drugs, mate? Why do people use drugs?
Me? You're asking me? Okay.
Yeah.
No idea.
I'm not asking why you use drugs. I'm asking why people use drugs.
I'll pretty much stick to Zagi's answer that I sort of agree on your point of view that some people that don't deal with life very well, so they try to find a solution to dealing with hard days and hard life, or even a change that they can't comprehend. So
I think, yeah. I mean, I personally think that there's a stigma in relation to drug use and the type of person that uses drugs. You know, we all think of a drug user to be someone from a lower socioeconomic background. Sometimes they are, but we shouldn't as a society have this vision of a drug user as being a junkie per se. It's not fair. It's not right that we should judge these people. And at the end of the day, as I said from the outset of, talking to you, we all have a story. Everyone's life is a book. So we shouldn't be so judgmental. And, perhaps if you just put yourself in that person's shoes and think, what has this person gone through for them to turn to this path? I can't tell you the amount of times that I walk down the city and I see homeless people on this road. What's your story? How did you end up here? Who are you? But that's me as an individual, and that's what makes me me. But
I completely agree, Zagi. Having worked in the health profession for some time previously in South Auckland, has the highest crime risk in New Zealand. And I would see patients where they'd be, with social work and things, and it wasn't those that you would see. And so they'd be seeing me, but it would be for those that, you'd be see just an average person.
Yeah. So fundamentally, these people, sometimes people are prescribed painkillers, for example, and they become dependent on these painkillers, and then these painkillers are taken away. Things like endone and opiates. These people can't cope with the pain or can't afford to continue buying the medication. So what will they turn to? There are those stories, but society doesn't realize this. And that's how they got to where they got to. Or, yes, there are people that unfortunately take the wrong path and mix with the wrong peers. And before you know it, they become intertwined in a different, path and lifestyle. And they feel like it's too late, and they just become deeper and deeper and deeper entrenched. What I find in my life experience with my clients is that, sometimes everyone's given up hope in them, everyone, including their families. And all it takes is one person to still believe in them.
Yep.
That sometimes
that's
and it's me, and I will force them to go into rehab. And if it means them swearing at me and hating me, or not hearing, the nicest things come out of their mouth, well, so be it. But I remind them.
Well, Zagi, that's why you're the leading one of the leading lawyers in Melbourne, because of this passion, and your belief in people is outstanding. We've just got a few more questions here, and I'm going to get my good mate Kelly to read one in a minute. But Paul said here, do you take on legal aid cases?
And he's also said, do you
take legal aid cases
for trial in family court?
I am on the legal aid panel, just for summary offences, unfortunately, and some for crime. But in family law, I am on the legal aid panel, yes. But because I'm quite a small firm, unfortunately, it depends on my capacity, but I do my best. But with criminal law, you have to fulfill certain criteria, and I just haven't gotten around to sitting a certain specialisation test, which I need to sit in order to go on the indictable crime panel.
All right, well, here comes a comment for me old mate Kelly to read out.
So we have a comment from one of our listeners here, Carla Louise. So I've joined tonight because I was accepted into law school last year. Congratulations, Carla. And I really conflicted if I should go ahead with it or just get a job and work. My age was never relative to me before, but is now, because I'm 33, and by the time I'm a solicitor, I'll be pushing 40. So I guess I wonder if I left this all too late. I'm really plagued by fear and intimidated to even be a part of such an industry. So I guess I'm seeking some encouragement or wisdom. Don't know. Really good question, Carla.
I'd say don't give up. I didn't do law straight off. I started doing arts at Melbourne Uni, and I majored in psychology and criminology, and then transferred to law eventually. Look, I think any knowledge you carry and life experience is crucial to becoming a great lawyer. I think the more life experience and wisdom you carry, the more you bring to the role. And it depends what area you want to practice in. It's never too late. If you have a dream,
Very true.
you need to stick to it. And my advice is, if you volunteer your time as you're studying, then it opens different pathways, and it hopefully opens doors to future employment. So if you're dedicated and you're passionate, you will get to where you want, and age shouldn't stop you.
100%.
Yeah, I think that's a great comment there, Zagi. I'd encourage
100%.
Carla to go for it, because I think you do got to follow your dreams. And as you know, Zagi, out there, we need more and more good people out there, especially people like yourself that believe in people and really are dedicated, because a lot of people out there are in need, and you find a lot of them coming through our court system, you know.
Yes.
Yep.
Zagi, have you noticed, like, this is probably a question Carla may have as well, in a growth area in law, that if she was to go and study, or for anyone else who's wanting to do additional training or has an interest in law, a growth area that you feel needs a lot more people practicing in?
Not sure what you mean exactly. If you can just explain the question to me.
So your area is family law and criminal law.
Yeah.
What other areas of law could people specialize in, or do you think there's a need for?
All different areas. Look, you know, there's medical negligence, for example. That's another area in, you know, personal injury law that deals with, you know, issues in the workplace, for example. You know, that's a big area. You know, areas about, you know, physical injuries, psychological injuries, you know, wills and estates is another area, business, commercial law, there's all different areas. Human rights is another area. Just general advice, basically, general practice.
Now, Zagi, I'm going to just change track a little bit. How do you balance this whole thing about punishment, rehabilitation, turning a life around? How many goes do you think we should? Because obviously in the youth area, we really want to go down that end of giving young people a go to turn their life around before we lock them up. Locking up should be the last resort. But what's your philosophy on this whole area?
Wow. I think my philosophy's changed as I'm becoming older. Look, it's a tough one, Mark, that question. It depends on the crime. Look, young offenders really need a lot of work, and they need, I believe, stability. And I think they're a product of their environment a lot of the time. I think with youth, it's important that they've got a strong role model in their life, that they feel safe and loved. And I think, you know, locking them up is the last resort. There's a lot that needs to be discussed when it comes to what you've asked me, I think. I'm not a believer of locking up young offenders, but sometimes we have no other option. But I think when we're talking about young offenders, I think rehab is important, but unfortunately, we're under-resourced, and there's not enough resources to address, I think, a lot of the issues, not only that young offenders are faced with, but even adult offenders. You know, even when we're talking about drug use, for example, how many rehab centres are there available in the public sector? What are the waiting periods like? You know, so resources, I think, is something that's quite lacking in our system. Even in the prisons themselves, I think there's a lack of resources. So in order for people to address their issues, they need to be able to address them with the proper professional help. And there's not enough around.
And you think going to prison, they can actually do both at the same time, a bit of punishment, if you like, and a bit of rehabilitation all in the one go, and they come out a better person and totally rehabilitated?
Really? I don't think there's enough resources in our prison system.
Yeah.
It's more punishment, in my opinion. I know we ideally want that to happen, but there's not enough resources. There's not enough to help these prisoners rehabilitate and address their real issues. I mean, how long does it take a prisoner to see a psychiatrist in our prison system? How long does it take for them to get their meds reassessed? And it's because the resources aren't available. There's too many offenders and not enough resources.
I think just as you're talking, Zagi, I'm wondering how you cope, because you're such a passionate person. You take it all inside, and you've been dealing with this for years. How do you get through each day in this environment where there's not that many good answers out there?
How? I just work with all the positives I try and achieve through my own clients. That's how I get through it. Every positive I achieve with my own clients is what drives me to continue doing the work I do. Don't get me wrong, I've had my times where I've struggled dealing with the type of work I do, and some people would know that. I struggled in my role as a prosecutor. I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I do. But that hasn't deterred me from continuing in this career. I love what I do. Yes, it's had effects on me. But I'm not going to let that stop me from what I'm doing.
Yeah, Zagi, we had someone on a few weeks ago talking about domestic violence, and when we were off here, we were talking about this, and you mentioned it earlier about that growing significantly.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that you see a large gap in that we need resourcing in, or how we need to be addressing it?
I don't know if I should say this. I actually think there's a gap in males when it comes to domestic violence. I mean, again, that stigma, and please don't misunderstand me, but when we think of domestic violence, we always think it's a female. Well, society seems to think it's, majority of the time, it's the female. But in the work I do, I see a lot of men being the victims of domestic violence. And is it society that we judge and we believe that men really, are they victims of domestic violence? Yeah, I can tell you now, they are. And they get injuries as well, and, a hit or abused. But sadly, there's a gap, I think, in our society when it comes to men. Men need a voice as well. Fathers need a voice as well.
Wow, that's fantastic. We've just got a couple more, and we'll probably come back to that subject because it's a big one. But John Rowe has got a comment here. Slow down the vocal tempo. Some of us would really like to hear and understand what's being said. Okay. Julio's our technical man, mate. What do you make of that comment, Julio?
No, I think it's we're talking about too many topics and jumping around a bit much. I think that's the topic, Wayne. So,
Colleen reckons it's a great conversation.
Yep.
And Milton reckons that's the way, Mark. Lock them up. Okay, I don't think I was saying that, but lock them up. In terms of, let's just go back to this subject. Can you give us some examples, or without names, of course, confidential, but just some scenarios that you're finding out there, Zagi, with this domestic violence around men?
I have situations whereby I've had, without mentioning names, how do I do this? I'm trying to articulate. I've had a couple that were separating, and the wife actually left the husband and left the matrimonial property. But she alleged domestic violence, but in actual fact, my client was telling me that he was the subject of domestic violence, and he tried to raise that issue in the court system, but wasn't believed per se, and he sustained some pretty terrible injuries. I basically had to show the photographs in court in order for him to really be believed. But I just find that there's a stigma with that, whereby there is this belief that women can't hurt men physically. Yes, we will never equal men in strength, but women too can be the perpetrators of domestic violence too, and physical violence too. Not just men. I mean, it's both. It's both. That's what I see in my role.
Okay.
I must say, Zagi, what would you be saying to someone that's living in a domestic violence situation, listening to this conversation? What would you be saying to them?
What would I be saying to them? To reach out. There's people out, there's places that they can get help, and that it's important that they, if there's children involved, that they remove themselves and the children from the situation. I think children are affected deeply by domestic violence, and it's something that will, the memories of that will stay with them, I think, for a very long time.
So Zagi, when you're working with family law, and you've got cases where the parents are going back and forth about children, for example, you must see this quite a bit. What are the long-term effects? What do you see the outcomes being?
Well, the family court really focuses on what's in the best interest of the children. The children is what the family court is fundamentally worried about. They need to ensure that the children are safe, and that. So the back and forth, that's the solicitors that really go through all that. And by the time it gets to court, you've exhausted every avenue. It's the last resort. So, there's family dispute resolution at the beginning, which would be offered by places like Relationships Australia. And hopefully, we encourage our clients to go there as their very first step. And perhaps if a parenting plan's reached, then, those parenting plans could potentially be turned into consent orders, which means orders by agreement, right? So there's no need for, so it's the mediators or the family therapists that assist in, knocking up a parenting plan. Parenting plans aren't legally binding, but consent orders are, and then if you can't get to an agreement there, then we could try mediation. Or family dispute resolutions within the court system. So, I mean, the family law, the rules changed in September last year. So the system's a little different to what it was previously, and it's focused on trying to reach a resolution at an early stage without the need of going to court. So the steps that you need to take in the new system are a lot more involved. To try and reach a resolution without the need. It's not as easy these days to go to court. That's probably to keep it simple so that our community can understand it easier. Yeah, so it is back and forward, but the children don't hear that. It's between the lawyers. Yes, there's family therapists and family reports that can be obtained, and that's when it can be ordered by the court, where the family sees, someone that specialises, and they'll speak to the parents. they'll speak to the children, and they'll make a recommendation to the court. Again, it's focused on what's in the best interest of the children. And really, children like routine, especially young children. So it's very important, routine, feeling safe, and not afraid to love both parents. Sadly, parents are too focused on what they've done to each other, and they're not focused on, on the fact that they need to remain parents forever. That never ends. Your marriage or your relationship may end, but you as parents, that role never ends. And I think by the time parents realise that, it takes a bit of time.
They're good comments, hey, Julio. It's a pretty complicated area, the old family law.
It is, yes. Do you find some cases that you don't want to touch? Like, some say, I can't do your case, I can't take you as a client?
Probably sex offences are the only ones that I can't do, because it's probably biased, because I worked in the specialist sex offence unit as a prosecutor.
Okay.
And I've seen a lot, and probably that's what's responsible for my PTSD. So I'm being very transparent. Yeah, it's not because I'm judging people. It's because my role in the unit as a prosecutor has affected me, and I want to be fair, and I don't want to sort of have triggers for myself as well.
Yeah.
They're probably the only cases I'd probably stay clear of for my own well-being, not for any other reason, yeah?
Okay.
We're on 98.9 Northwest FM. It's Community Heart Radio. We've got a very interesting topic tonight. We're covering a whole range of ground. Probably some people think it's maybe too much ground, but it's. I just love Zagi's passion and commitment to others. And thanks for being so honest and open tonight with us. I feel very privileged to be part of the conversation. If you want to be part of the conversation, make sure you make a comment, ask any question. We'd love to hear your voice. And Kelly, it's been amazing, isn't it, this conversation?
It really is. And there's so many different angles we can, I've got so many questions I keep thinking of wanting to ask Zagi about, where you've got a friend or a family member or someone or a colleague going through something. And it ties in with so many different circumstances. So such an interesting topic.
What about these intervention orders, Zagi? Because they seem to be able to be used both for good and bad. What's your experience of them on both sides, the good and the bad, and are they effective?
Oh, my goodness me. That's a topic that I don't like to comment on. Yes, good and bad. Yes, look, I think, at the beginning of this session, you asked me what areas have changed. Well, the definition of family violence has changed from when I was a lot younger. What it incorporates. It's not just physical violence. It's now financial abuse. It's, verbal, physical. And I think society doesn't realise that all those facets is what could end up causing an IVO being whacked on you. Are there goods and bads? Look, I come across situations, guys, and I'm going to be quite open, whereby I've had clients that have been whacked with IVOs, and it takes me, back a little. And I think, my goodness me, really? An IVO for that? An example, I had a client where an IVO was placed on him because his wife had alleged that he was stalking her. She felt stalked because he was looking up, is it the MyGov? When you're looking up the Medicare and you're trying to get your rebate back. The sad thing is that when couples break up, that hasn't separated immediately. So if someone goes to see a doctor, of course they're going to be using that app. So, technology, and now it's a way of sort of making certain allegations. And I'm thinking, really, that one thing, and an IVO's whacked? I mean, it could have genuinely been legitimate. Let's just be honest. Let's take our own life experiences, But then you've got other cases where, damn right, an IVO needs to be in place. And when a magistrate or, takes that, thinks about it, or the police, takes one out on someone's behalf, they have to weigh up the risk. And is there a risk? And that's a hard job if we think about it as well. I mean, really, you don't want to place a family at risk or an individual at risk. It's increasing. It's an area that is definitely getting.
Why do you think that is increasing, Zagi? And have you noticed as well, it's like you touched on earlier about domestic violence, but sometimes it's not only women that are lodging these, but men as well. It's no longer just.
I think they're embarrassed. Like, I think men have this notion that they're not going to be believed. Sadly, I think even how often do we hear about how many men commit suicide that are deprived of seeing their children, or we don't talk about issues affecting men in our society. Why is that? Why do we only talk about the issues that affect women? I mean, I'm a woman and I'm saying this, but it's because I deal with it and I see my clients that are men crying on the opposite end of the table because they want to see their children. Why? They're my children too, they'll say, and they are, and you can genuinely see the despair in their eyes and a broken person sitting before me. So it's not just women that are affected by these issues, it's men as well. It's not just women. And children, imagine what they're thinking. Why can't I see my dad? Where's my dad gone? Young children in particular. What goes through their minds? I mean, it's sad. Family law is a sad area to work in. It is. No one goes off and has children with the thought that they're going to not last. How often do I wonder when I have someone sitting in front of me or I observe a situation, I think in the back of my head, once upon a time, you guys loved each other so much. How does love turn into hate?
And do you think, Zagi, this is one of the reasons why we've got so many kids out there with no fathers involved in their lives, just because of this whole stigma or because of the role of the father? There's no encouragement for them to stay connected, or?
No, the family court does encourage a meaningful relationship with both parents. The family court is always encouraging that. It's not the courts, it's the people, it's the parents. It's the parents. And unfortunately, they lose sight. Yes, there are situations where there is terrible domestic violence or terrible other issues that, will prevent one parent seeing a child. Yes, there are those situations, and rightly so. But sadly, I think parents can also become intertwined with their own issues between each other, and the children are put in the middle. And the children, unfortunately, are being pulled by both sides. It's sad. And it's because the parents have the issues and they're forgetting and they lose track on the fact that they need to focus on the children. The children are important.
All right. Well, look, we're coming up to the part of the show. Gee, this show's gone quick tonight. Zagi, you've been amazing. And I'm looking forward to this part of the show, Zagi's top 5. And I'm just going to give a scope to say the top 5 of anything she wants to say. It's open, Slater. Just 5 points that you want to make to leave us with tonight.
Before we get into that, though, we've got one question from Carla Louise as well.
Yep, we better.
Zagi, you said you began psychology and criminology. What made you transition into law?
I didn't get into law straight out. My mum was quite strict with me. I had to go to Melbourne Uni and I didn't have all the marks to get into law school straight out. So I had enough to get into I had enough to go to Monash, but I had to go to Melbourne. I came from a very strict European family, and I guess Mum just wanted the best for me. So I did want to do law all along. My other passion, because I was fascinated by criminal behaviour, I've always had a fascination. I thought the next best step was to do psych and criminology to understand criminal behaviour. So I've always had a passion for crime.
Fantastic. All right, well, we want to get into the top 5, Zagi, and Julio's going to write them down. We're going to leave them. And don't forget, if you're listening and you've got one of your own top 5 or you've got a comment to make about the top 5, make sure you put your comment down. We're still going to have time for a few comments, but I want to get Zagi's top 5 down because I think this is going to be really important. Her top 5 points of life, of law, of her learnings, of her life, of her passion. Whatever it is, Zagi, they're all going to be okay by us. What would be your first top 5 point you want to make to us tonight?
Don't judge people. So that's my first point.
Don't judge people.
Don't judge people.
Okay, that's a good one.
Very important.
2, follow your dreams.
Okay, that's probably for you, Carla. Got one for you. Point 2's for you. Follow your dreams. I'd encourage that one. That's 2 good ones there, Julio. What's number 3?
Fight for what you believe in. Never give up. So if you believe in something, fight for it and don't let anyone deter you. So that's another one.
And you'd be a good fighter there in the courtroom and not give up, eh?
It's not only about that. It's about what you believe in as well. So, you know, if you really believe in something and you feel that it's wrong, don't be afraid to say it's wrong. That's something I'm passionate about.
Zagi, with that, are you ever a representative with advocacy groups or any sort of humanitarian topics or things like that? Do you think if someone's passionate about that, that would be another good step into that legal field?
Yeah, definitely. There are all different areas. If you're passionate about something, there's lots of different areas you can branch into. Like it depends on how passionate you are.
And Zagi, does your passion just go to the courtroom, or are you lobbying? Are you what are you doing outside the courtroom for these passions?
Exactly.
I'm passionate about mental health in the workforce. So yes, I did make a change there.
That's a biggie. Now that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, I fought very hard for issues in the workplace. So that's all I'm going to say about that one.
Thank you for sharing that. I think we're up to number 4.
4. Oh boy, I've lost my train of thought now.
Okay, well, just while you're getting that, we'll go through the top 3. Julio, why don't you run us through the top 3?
Okay, first we'll introduce them. Okay, point 1, don't judge people. Point 2, follow your dreams. Point 3, fight for what you believe in.
Point 4, live life to the fullest. Try and enjoy every day. And point 5, try and forgive and move forward. Yeah, don't let things consume you.
What do you think of the 5th one there, Kelly? I reckon that's a great point, isn't it?
I love all 5, to be honest. Really do.
Any? Come on, I want to get your favourite one out of the 5, Kel.
I don't have a favourite, and I want to. Now Zagi's got me thinking about her, her passion and her drive, and lots more questions, Zagi.
You know what my passion also comes from, I believe in leading by example. and I live every day trying to be the best example for my two beautiful children. So I do my best.
Julio, can we squeeze that into the top 5? Because I reckon that's a beauty. Living by example, I reckon that can squeeze into that top 5 there somewhere.
I'll put it probably it'll go number 4, to be quite honest.
Number 4, beautiful, beautiful. It's been so good having you, Zagi, on the show. Just sort of as we start sort of winding up, the effects of the pandemic has on people that you're seeing in your work. How's that sort of all fit together for you?
There's different effects in the work. So like I raised before, yes, there's pressures on families. Those pressures raise... When people feel pressure, they argue, isn't it? No, it's human nature. We tend to take out our emotions on those that we're closest to. Financial issues, financial strains, it causes arguments. It does. Financial strain can lead to crime. People commit crimes. When we're depressed, we use drugs. It's a vicious cycle. People commit crime to support their drug habit. So this is why I say, don't judge. We need to look beyond the obvious. Don't look at what's obvious in front of you, the way it looks, because it's not the way it looks. Always look beyond the obvious is what I always say. Even when I've got, someone that might be volunteering with me, or, if I'm mentoring someone, that's something I teach them from the outset. Always look beyond the obvious. Do not look at it from the surface. Even if you look at a police brief, don't look at the evidence just as you see it. Look beyond it. Look in the background. Look at the photo with more detail. Look at it. See what someone else can't see. It's very important. Maybe
Fantastic.
I'm too deep.
No, that's very good, very good. And if Julio gets in trouble with the law again, can he contact you? What's your message for people listening to the show tonight?
Well, if anyone needs help, not to hesitate. They can find me at Kozarov Lawyers, or if you Google my name, I'm more than happy to try and assist the best possible way I can.
Okay. Oh, actually, I think Carla's got a quick little question here.
I was just going to say, actually, when you were saying that, Zagi, you're mentoring, I bet a lot of people would really appreciate that. And Carla's actually said, do you need any volunteers at your firm?
Yeah, I'm always trying to embrace volunteers. I think it's important to teach. I enjoy teaching. Sometimes, it's difficult because it is busy, but I do my very best, and I enjoy mentoring. I guess it's a fragment of me that I'm passing on to someone else. And if I can pass that on, I'm happy to do so.
Well, look, as we wind up the show, we're just going to have to listen to the top 5 again from Julio, and then have some closing comments from everybody. So, Zagi, just been so great having you on 98.9 Northwest FM Community Heart Radio tonight. And Julio, take us into the top 5.
Okay, number 1, don't judge people. Number 2, follow your dreams. Number 3, fight for what you believe in. Number 4, try to enjoy every day. Live by example. Number 5, don't let things consume you.
Fantastic, Kelly. Well, what's your sort of closing comments, Kel?
I just want to say thank you, Zagi, for coming on here tonight. And I think it's just been an eye-opener to all of us, talking about so many different topics, and there's so much more we can unpack. But I think my takeaway is, what you touched on about not judging people, particularly when you're speaking about some of those family court matters and drug incidences and things like that. I think we all need to be with our eyes open. And like you said, when you're mentoring someone, to look beyond the surface. I think that's really important to be aware of, very much so. So thank you.
And Julio?
Yeah, mine's pretty much the same thing, apart from I took as well. Looks like we're very short on education and also support standards around Australia for the criminal justice system. That comes pretty strongly out of your voice, I think, at the moment. So it's been really nice having you on board and having you on show.
Thank you.
And Zagi, I love your belief in people, especially some of the people you deal with lose belief in themselves. You're there giving them hope. And I just think it's hope in a really dark place and where people are giving up and judging and a whole lot of stuff going on. And there's Zagi with a light shining and giving people hope and even a way forward. I think it's really encouraging and inspiring, Zagi. So thanks very much for sharing your passion with us tonight.
Thank you. But I will say one thing. Some lawyers would argue that that's not our job. Our job is just to do our legal job. It depends on the person. So it depends on you as an individual. I mean, I am that way, but some lawyers would argue that you shouldn't be that way, and that's why you burn out. So everyone has a different philosophy about the way they practice.
Well, we certainly don't want you burning out, Zagi, but we will ask you for one final comment as we finish up the show. What would you like to leave us with?
Just thanks for having me, and thanks for discussing all the broad topics that we have in such a condensed time frame. They're topics that you could talk about for a very long time.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks everyone for your comments tonight. It's been really great. And Carla, looking forward to seeing your you in the courtroom there.
Yes, that'd be good.
Yeah, go for it, Carla.
Yes. Well, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks, Margie.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Tune in every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. or watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and follow us on LinkedIn and other social media.